There's a dialogue unfolding in our modern world, a quiet, complicated negotiation between men and women as societal roles evolve. On one side, women, for good reason, hold historical memory close. Not long ago, they were restricted, legally and socially, while today, they've gained the freedom to shape their lives as they see fit. That progress is deeply cherished and understandably guarded. Yet on the other side, men are raising an important point of their own. If roles have evolved for women, shouldn't men also get to redefine what is expected of them? When men seek this discussion, however, it can be interpreted as a threat, a step backward, even if the intent is simply to create fairness in evolving expectations. Men, when dismissed as throwing tantrums or being insecure, feel unheard. Their argument isn't to take rights away, it's simply to say, if relationships should benefit both people, then both should be able to define what benefit means. From the women's perspective, though, the pushback is rooted in protection. History isn't just history, it's a reminder of how hard-won these freedoms were. There's a fear that any shift could risk losing autonomy. But when men say, we want to redefine our roles, some women hear, we want to take back control. It's not the intent, but it's the perception. And perception shapes reactions. This leads to a loop. Men feel their concerns aren't engaged with, just dismissed. Women feel they're defending ground they fought hard to gain. It's not about one side being right or wrong. It's about both sides reacting to a world that's changed unevenly. Men notice another pattern. When they raise concerns about imbalance, it's often labeled as whataboutisms or deflection. From their perspective, though, they're asking for consistency. If a standard applies, shouldn't it apply across the board? Yet that attempt at symmetry is often rejected because the conversation is sometimes framed not as analysis, but as advocacy. So when men introduce fairness, it feels like shifting focus away from women's issues. Men, in turn, perceive that only one side's critique is fully welcomed. Ultimately, this isn't about one side being bad and the other good. It's about how humans react when roles shift, when they fear losing something. Both sides are guarding something valuable. For women, it's their autonomy. For men, their desire for balanced expectations. The core truth? Both men and women want relationships that benefit them, freedom to define their roles, and neither wants to be boxed in. The issue is that the evolution hasn't been symmetrical. Women's roles expanded faster. Men's expectations didn't evolve at the same pace. Now both sides are negotiating a new system without clear rules. When we see this, we stop asking who's right or wrong. We see two parallel realities needing to be heard. Only then can we move forward. If you are enjoying this video, be sure to hit the like and subscribe. Getting back on track. Both perspectives are real, and both are rooted in something valid. Then the real question becomes, how can this actually be achieved? How do you create a system where neither side feels like they're losing, where both men and women can redefine themselves without triggering fear, defensiveness, or dismissal? The first step is uncomfortable, but necessary. It requires both sides to separate intent from impact. Because right now, much of the conflict is happening in that gap. Men say, we want fairness, but the impact it has on some women feels like a threat to their autonomy. Women say, we're protecting our progress, but the impact it has on some men feels like dismissal or exclusion. Until both sides can acknowledge that those reactions exist, even if they weren't intended, the conversation stays stuck. The second step is redefining what fairness actually means. Not in theory, but in practice. Because fairness doesn't mean identical roles. It means mutual agreement. It means both people in a relationship, or both sides in a broader social conversation, having the ability to define what they want without being shamed for it. A man saying he values peace, cooperation, or traditional traits shouldn't automatically be labeled oppressive. And a woman saying she values independence and autonomy shouldn't be seen as rejecting partnership. Both are expressions of preference, not declarations of war. The third step is recognizing that not every conversation is the same type of conversation. Some spaces are meant for advocacy, focused on one group's experiences. Others are meant for analysis, where patterns, symmetry, and consistency matter. Problems arise when those two are mixed without clarity. If a man enters an advocacy space and introduces a fairness argument, it will often be seen as deflection. But if the goal is to actually build a shared framework for relationships, then both sides must be willing to step into analytical space, where consistency applies to everyone. The fourth step is communication, specifically, how things are said. Because as we've seen, even a well-reasoned point can be rejected if it feels like an accusation. So the way forward isn't to water down the truth, but to frame it in a way that reduces perceived threat. Instead of saying, "This happens on both sides," which can feel like a direct comparison, it can be framed as, "This seems like a human reaction to change that we're both navigating." That small shift keeps the point intact, but removes the feeling of being singled out or equated with something negative. The fifth step is acceptance of limits. Not every person will be open to this conversation. Some will hear fairness as opposition, no matter how it's framed. And recognizing that isn't defeat, it's clarity. It allows you to stop expecting universal agreement and instead focus on building understanding with those who are willing to engage in good faith. And finally, the most important step is mutual recognition. Recognition that both men and women are navigating a world that changed faster than its rules. Recognition that both are trying to protect something, whether it's autonomy, fairness, stability, or identity. And recognition that neither perspective is inherently more important than the other. Because the goal isn't for one side to win. It's for both sides to coexist in a system where expectations are negotiated, not assumed, where roles are chosen, not imposed, and where understanding replaces assumption. That's how it's achieved. Not through force, not through dismissal, but through clarity, consistency, and a willingness, on both sides, to actually hear what the other is saying. Because once that happens, the conversation stops being a conflict and starts becoming a solution. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.